After his daughter's mysterious illness, a powerful businessman is confronted with the shocking truth about his own pharmaceutical product. Unexpected help comes from a street boy who knows more than he should. The investigation leads the hero to the trail of a deadly corporate lie. Now he must make a choice: save the empire or save those who can still survive. Don't forget to subscribe and like so you don't miss new stories. We're losing her. Enter adrenaline. Saturation is falling. Mr. Hale, you will have to go out. No, I'm staying. He stood by the wall like a shadow, as if his whole body was frozen in one short word. Daddy. Machines hummed in the ward. Lights blinked softly. IVs reached for her small hand. Bella did not move. Only her eyelids trembled slightly. Sir, really, you'd better wait outside the door. The nurse spoke softly but confidently. I can buy this hospital, the whole thing, with the land. But I can't make her open her eyes. Leave me here. He didn't cry. Tears would have been too vivid. He looked at his daughter as if she were a distant planet. He never had time to find out what kind of books she liked. Only reports, meetings, contracts. And now, an oxygen mask, blue skin, and trembling silence. What's wrong with her? Unknown. A sharp drop in pressure, pulmonary edema. We're checking everything, but the reaction is strange. What drug? The new Aracin line, the one that passed the final tests a month ago. He clenched his fingers into a fist. This is our drug. When he stepped out into the hallway, the air was dry and empty. People walked past without looking him in the eye. He sat down on a bench, leaned forward, and pressed his hands to his temples. She shouldn't have gotten hurt, he whispered. I thought of everything, every step, every risk. That's exactly it. You calculated. The voice came from the side. He looked up. A boy of about 12 stood next to him, wearing a worn sweatshirt with a backpack on one strap and eyes that were too adult. Who are you? Gabe. Are you here alone? Always alone. Do you have someone in your room? No, I'm just waiting. Who are you waiting for? Those who start listening. Edward narrowed his eyes. What did you say? I know what's wrong with her. With your daughter. I've seen it before. With my sister. Are you a doctor? And you are a father? Boy, you don't understand what you're playing with. And you? Do you understand what it means to watch someone suffocate and not be able to do anything? He stood up abruptly. Who let you in here? Nobody. I came myself. From the street. Are you homeless? No. I'm just not needed by anyone anymore. Except her, I guess. If she survives. Why are you talking as if you know something? Because my sister died after Aracin. Exactly the same. Same symptoms. Same company. It's impossible. We've passed the clinical. You've done what was needed for approval, but not what was needed for life. Edward fell silent. Gabe sat down next to him. She's wheezing, right? She's blue, and they say unknown cause. Yes. My sister had exactly the same thing, and then she was gone. Why are you here? Because I couldn't save one, but maybe I'll have time with the second. I don't know whether to believe you or not. This is not about faith. This is about choice. If you want to sit further, waiting for a miracle, go ahead. And if you want to understand that something is rotting inside your system, I will show you where to look. Why me? Because you are her father. And maybe for the first time, you are not in control of the situation. And what do you suggest? Meet the woman who was fired from your company because she asked too many questions. She knows the formula, and she knows what's wrong with it. Edward sighed. This is madness. No, Mr. Hale. Madness is sitting in silence while someone dies. He didn't answer. He just looked at the door of the ward again. If I follow you and all this is a lie, then hit me first. But if it's true, you must be prepared to admit that salvation does not always come with a tie. Edward closed his eyes. For the first time in years, not because he wanted to sleep, but because he didn't know what to do. Her name is Nora Reeves, former head nurse in the lab division. Worked at Orbis Biotech for 15 years until they kicked her out, Gabe said as they turned off the main street and into an older neighborhood where the asphalt was cracking and the windows were papered over. I don't remember any Nora. Edward walked alongside, trying not to step in the puddles. I met with key figures, with doctors, with department heads. Exactly. And she was lower. Below your views, but she knew more. And you're sure she'll want to talk? She's waiting, for a long time now. The door of the house creaked, as if in warning. Inside, it smelled of lavender, damp earth, and medicine. In a chair by the window sat a woman with gray hair, wearing a warm sweater and holding a cup. Edward Hale himself, she said, without rising. I never thought you'd come into my house, not to court. Sorry. I didn't know. There was a lot you didn't know, but it looks like you're starting to understand. Gabe walked up to her and leaned on the armrest. He's listening, Nora. I promised you would tell him everything. Okay. Then listen. 4 years ago, we started testing the ALX12 molecule. It had a quick effect on asthma attacks, but with accumulation, it began to affect the capillaries of the lungs. Mild hematotoxicity, then edema, then collapse. Why wasn't there a word about this in the reports? Because at the 3rd stage, all of this disappeared from the database. I raised the alarm, wrote a memorandum, and then the order came. Calm the old lady down. And 2 weeks later, I signed the papers about leaving on personal initiative. Are you sure it's ALX12 that's causing these reactions? I'm sure. I've seen 9 children. They had the same symptoms as your girl. But the company's fear of losing the market was more important than life. Edward sat up, as if his legs had given out. Do you know who edited the reports? Jared Kinslow, your second in command. He had access to all the security protocols. He scrubbed the data, rewrote the numbers, covered himself with fast-track clearance. I signed the final reports. Everything was clean there. Because that's what you wanted to see. And you didn't look deeper. And now your daughter is the price for that blindness. Where can I find evidence? I have copies of some files, names, dates, an external drive. I didn't give them to anyone. I was afraid that everything would disappear. Give them to me. Only if you promise not to cover for anyone, not even yourself. I promise. Nora stood up and went to the bedroom. She returned with a metal box. She handed it to him. There's truth there. Not statistics, not percentages, but stories, lives, like Gabe's sisters. Gabe was silent. He just looked at Edward. Her name was Joan. She was 6. She was choking right in my arms. I screamed, but no one listened. Everyone said, it's not the drug, it's an individual reaction. And then my mother, she couldn't take it anymore. Where is she now? I don't know. They took her to the clinic. I didn't go. I ran away. Edward bowed his head. It's my fault. Not just the paperwork. I created a culture where fear is stronger than compassion. And now everything is falling apart. No, Nora shook her head. Now there's a chance. If you're ready to go all the way. He looked at the box. Then at Gabe. I'll go to headquarters. I'll check the reports. I'll compare them with what's here. And if everything is confirmed, I'll go to the press. You will lose everything, Nora said. I almost lost my daughter. Then maybe you've finally become human. They walked out of the house into the drizzle, Gabe walking alongside them, his hood pulled tight around him. Thank you for coming with me. You don't thank me, but you work. Because if you get scared again, I'll tell you everything myself. Agreed. They reached a crossroads. Gabe stopped. I won't go with you. Why? You must do this alone. And I must return to those who are waiting for me to start talking. See you? Necessarily. And Gabe. What? Thank you for knowing. The boy nodded, turned around, and disappeared into the wet silence of the streets. Edward was left alone. But now, with the truth in his hands. Where have you been? In the archive. 5 hours. 1? Yes, at night. Without security. Without lawyers. Just me and mountains of reports. Clara put the coffee on the table and sat down opposite. And what did you find? Everything. Nora was right. Jared was cleaning up the data. Reports, tests, complaints, everything was either edited or disappeared. The drug was marketed through counterfeiting. Did you save copies? Yes. I took photos of each sheet. Tomorrow I'll pass them on to journalists and the Committee for Control of Medicines. Do you understand that they will destroy you? And if I remain silent, Bella will remain a symbol of my silent approval. Clara nodded and took his hand. Then we do it together. He didn't answer. He just clenched his fingers. His head was ringing with the phrases he saw in the reports. Report rejected. Incorrect response. Unconfirmed death. He returned home closer to midnight. There was silence in the hallway. In his daughter's room, there was the blue light of a night lamp and the silence of the devices. He sat on the edge of the bed and looked at her face. Bella, I'm going against them, against everyone. I don't know how this will end, but I have to. He fell silent. And suddenly, Bella's fingers trembled, first one, then the other. He jumped up, pressed the button to call the nurse. She's moving! She moved her hand. We detected weak activity an hour ago, the nurse said. But this is the first external response. Will she wake up? It's too early to say, but it's a good sign. He went out into the hallway. He took out his phone. He dialed Gabe's number. Yes? It's me, Edward. Did something happen? She moved her hand. The first time. You should know this first. Thank you. Where are you? Near the station. I have a place here. I want to be alone. Come to me. For what? Because no matter what, you are part of this story. Are you angry that I dragged you into this? I am grateful. Pause. Okay. But only if there is toast for breakfast. With cinnamon. The next morning they sat at the same table. Edward was toasting bread. Gabe was leafing through the newspaper. Are you really going to tell the press everything? I've already sent copies of the dossier. Today at 6, interview. Aren't you afraid? I'm afraid. But living in a lie is scarier. If you get fired, then I'll open a fund for people like you and people like her. Like who? Like your sister and like my daughter, those who are ignored until it's too late. Gabe paused, then looked straight ahead. I didn't tell you, but she died in my arms. I didn't know what to do. I thought if I screamed loudly, someone would hear. You did more than anyone who was supposed to listen. You came to me. And I heard. You became different, you know? No. I just stopped being deaf. Later, they went to the hospital together. Bella was still asleep, but her pulse was steady on the screen. Edward took her hand. Can you hear me, baby? We're almost there. Gabe stood nearby and said quietly, Can I stay here for a bit? Of course. She feels you. In the evening, Edward entered the studio. Lights, cameras, the presenter in headphones. Mr. Hale, are you ready? Yes. I have the truth, and I came to tell it. What would you like to tell the country? That sometimes silence kills, but if one person says enough, it can save the whole world. Who is this someone? The boy who knew. You mean you leaked it to the press yourself? Jared's voice was like gold-plated steel. Without advice, without notice. Just like that? It wasn't just like that. Edward stood by the conference room window, looking out at the skyscrapers. I conveyed the truth. What we were hiding. You're crazy. Karen, the PR director, breathed quietly. This is the end. For you, for the brand, for the investors. Perhaps, he turned around, but perhaps this is the beginning for those who will no longer die from our silence. The drug was bringing us $500 million a quarter. Do you realize the scale? I understand the scale of the lie, and the price my daughter paid, and Gabe, and Joan, and the ones whose names we didn't even write down. The board will demand your resignation. Jared stepped closer. Today, without the right to severance pay. Then tell them that I have already submitted a petition. Voluntarily. And with this letter, evidence of your manipulations, falsifications, and financial schemes. Do you want to sink the ship you are standing on? No. I want him to stop walking on corpses. He returned to the hospital that evening. Bella's room was silent. Gabe sat by the bed, reading aloud to her. What are you reading? A fairy tale. The one who listened to the trees. Never heard of it. It's about someone who was deaf but began to hear when he himself became silent. Fitz. And you? I said everything, live on air, named names, showed documents, left the company. Do you regret it? No, I'm just afraid. What? That I started too late. Better late with a heart than early without one. Edward sat down next to her. The Ministry of Health called today. An investigation has been launched. The drug is being recalled from the market. A new commission is being established. Are you a hero now? No, just a man who finally realized who he should have listened to from the very beginning. And me? At first I thought you were an inconvenient boy. Then, just a witness. And now, I see you as my savior. The savior? Without you, I would continue to live in a suit. Not in leather. Gabe smiled, for the first time, truly. Will she wake up? The doctors say there is a chance. Her brain is responding. She is moving. She is breathing more evenly. Can I be nearby? I hope you stay. He covered Gabe's hand with his own. Then he stood up and walked to the window. It was raining outside. The sky was gray. But there was something new in this silence. Simple. Pure. You thought love was a privilege? Gabe asked suddenly. What if yes? And she is a choice, repeated every day, even when it is scary. You are wise for your age. I just kept quiet a lot. Now I'm learning to speak. As he left the room, Nora caught up with him in the corridor. I saw the broadcast. You did it. Only thanks to you. No, thanks to her. The girl who sleeps but changed the system. Will you name the foundation after her? No, in honor of Joan. Joan? Because Bella will survive, and Joan is the one we didn't save, and now we will. They hugged, without words, without pathos, just like people who had gone through lies and chosen the light. Are you sure you don't want me to come with you? Gabe stood on the porch, arms crossed. It is your first day after all. New office, new foundation, new life. I'm sure, Edward smiled. You've already given me more than any partner could. But this is the first step I must take myself. Only if you show me what the office looks like later, right after lunch, and I promise, no glass walls and $10,000 chairs. Then okay, but I'll still come by if I get bored. Agreed. He got into his car and drove through the morning city, which seemed different today. Not because the streets had changed, but because he saw them differently. There was a sign in front of the foundation's new building, the Blue Light Initiative. No logos, no loud slogans, just the name Gabe had chosen himself. Why blue light? Edward asked last week. Because Joan had a nightlight, a blue one. It shone even when she fell asleep with a fever. I knew if it was on, she was here. Now let it shine for others, too. Nora met him in the hall, already in a white coat and with a folder under her arm. You're exactly 6 minutes late, and that's disrespectful to the new chapter. I'm getting old, but I brought coffee. Then I forgive you. The team is already assembled. The first meeting is in 15 minutes. The topic: How not to become those we fight against. Sounds ambitious. Did you think everything would be simple? He entered the office, a simple, modest one, without carpets or panoramic windows. On the wall were photos of Joan, Bella, and dozens of children whose parents had already applied to the fund. He sat down at the table, opened his laptop, but after a minute he stood up again and went to the window. Bella eats with appetite. The doctors say she'll be back at school in a month, Nora said from behind the door. I know. We watched old cartoons yesterday, she laughed. It was the first real laugh. And Gabe? He laughed too, embarrassedly. But he laughed. He almost never sleeps by the door. Sometimes he even goes inside. You need him, not as a symbol, as a person. He's already part of the family. Not by blood, but by choice. Edward came home at lunchtime as he had promised. Gabe was eating cereal in the kitchen with his feet up on a chair. Did you have a lecture? Almost. Nora cross-examined me. I barely survived. Well, you didn't want the easy way. And you? What did you do? I read it. Bella gave me her old detective story. She said, learn to unravel mysteries. It will come in handy. Smart. Someone influenced her. I hope in a good way. For now, yes. He poured himself some water, then sat down next to her. Look, I'm still thinking. You don't have to. I mean, if you just want to be a family friend or a mentor, that's fine. Gabe. I'm serious. I'm not looking for a father. I'm looking for a place to breathe. What if I tell you that you have already found it? Then... He paused, staring into the glass. Then I'll have to learn not to be afraid that it will be taken away again. No one will take it away anymore. Not you. Not your story. Okay, then I agree. Agree to what? To be your son. No papers. No ceremony. Just like that. Because I want to. Edward didn't answer. He just stood up, walked around the table, and hugged him tightly. Gabe didn't resist. Thank you for knowing, Edward whispered, and for not giving up. Thanks for listening, Gabe replied, even when it was almost too late. And in the evening, he and Bella were sitting on the sofa. She hugged the teddy bear and asked, and Gabe now lives with us forever? Yes. If he wants to. Can I call him brother? You're already doing it. Okay. Then you're just a dad now, too. Not Edward, not the head of anything. Just a dad. He grinned and kissed her forehead. This is the best position I have ever held. I hope you don't quit her. Never. Even if the board of directors is against it. They laughed. And in that warm silence, under the soft light of the lamp, everything fell into place. Not because it became perfect, but because it became real.